to start out by reading our text this morning, and it's going to come from Genesis chapter 13. If you have your Bibles, you can follow along, of course, and if you don't, it should appear on the wall. And we'll read several verses to start out our service today. This is talking about Lot and everything that went on in his life as he came with Abraham, his uncle, into the land of Canaan. So, Genesis 13, look first of all at verse 1 and verse 2. And Abram, now that's the name of Abraham before his name was changed, he went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him unto the south. Now, Lot is not his child. Lot is a nephew. It's his brother's son. Verse 2, and Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. Drop down to verse 5 now. And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. Now, if you would drop down to verse 9, and what we have here is Abraham talking to Lot, and he is saying, is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere. Before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. Now, what Lot is doing now is he's checking out the land as to what way he wants to go. Does he want to go east or does he want to go west? Abraham has given him the choice. Now, he sees the well-watered plains of Jordan, and therefore that's very attractive to him. And then it says there, if you'll notice there, how that it was even as the garden of the Lord. And that could very well be a picture of the Garden of Eden. It was like that garden way, way back there with Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden. Now look at verse number 11. Then Lot made the decision. He made the choice. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan. And Lot journeyed east. And they separated themselves, the one from the other. Abraham dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. Verse 13. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord. And then he adds this particular word, exceedingly. The men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. So Lot now is making a choice. He's going to go west or he's going to go east. If he goes west, he'll go into Canaan, a land perhaps filled with lots and lots of rocks. If he goes east, he can go towards the plains of Jordan, which is well watered. A nice green plush-like garden. Wonderful. The problem is, it is towards the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, the cities of the plain. And when Lot is making this choice, he is seeing all of the ease, all of the plenty, all of the prosperity, how it is well watered, how it is going to fatten his own pocketbook, how it is going to be like the Garden of Eden. I mean, it just was a beautiful place. But understand, the beautiful place is right before the wickedness of the city of Sodom. It was a place that most people would rather go than the other way. If you go east, oh my, it's fun and games and well-watered plains. Over here to the west is the land of Canaan, kind of dry, kind of rocky, kind of like a desert. Not quite, but it's just not at all like it is over here when you talk about going east towards Sodom. So he looks at the east. He looks at the well-watered plains of Sodom. And all he could see there was how his cattle would have everything they wanted to eat. They would have everything they wanted to drink. He saw how that his livestock, all of them would fatten themselves up, and it would do nothing but create greater and greater wealth for himself. No doubt one day, as he is trying to make a choice, he sits in the door of his tent, and he's looking out over the plains of Jordan. And then he sees way out there the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And he's thinking to himself as to what great fun he could have as he goes east and then goes into those cities. Oh, the fun and the excitement and the gratification of the flesh. No doubt he begins to think of all of these things: the wealth, the prosperity, the ease, the pleasure. He's seeing all of that. But there are a lot of things that Lot, for some reason, is not seeing. There are things about the east, about Sodom and Gomorrah. And for some reason, Lot didn't see these things. He didn't have his focus. He didn't have his attention on those things. All he could see was that which he could profit from today. He was not thinking about tomorrow. He was not thinking about the future. He was only looking and thinking about and pondering about and reasoning about what he could get right now. The pleasure, the wealth, the easy, right now. I can have it now. All I have to do is go east. I don't want to go west. I want to go east. The thing that Lot should have done is he should have gone to the Lord in prayer. And he should have asked God for some guidance, because he had to make a real big decision here. And Lot is looking at the decision only from that which is the beginning. And he failed to look at this decision through the eyes of the Lord. And therefore he failed to see not only the beginning, but he is seeing, that's all he was seeing. He's not seeing the ending of it all. His eyes only saw the well-watered plains of Jordan. And he felt that pull and that attraction to go that way, because that way would prove to me how enjoyment the flesh could be. However, he failed to see what was beyond. He failed to see what was that in the future. His eyes were only focused on the temporary, and he failed to understand that he should have looked through the eyes of his spirituality. He didn't look through the eyes of the Lord. All he did was saw that which was in front of him, and that caught his attention. Paul has something to say about that. In fact, in 2 Corinthians 4, in verse 18, here's what Paul says: "While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal." Anything you and I can see out of these eyeballs, everything is temporary. It isn't going to last. It's just temporal. Now, if you cannot see it, now we're talking about that which is going to last forever and ever and ever. So yesterday we were here to celebrate the life of a man who lived 96 years. 53 of those 96 years he lived for the Lord. 43 years he lived without the Lord. And then he got saved, then he lived for the Lord. For the first 43 years, people who are not saved, they live just for the temporary. Just today, in the moment. This is it. Now, when Chubb got saved, back in July of 1971, now he begins to live for the Lord, which now he is living for that which is unseen. He never saw heaven. He never saw God. He never saw the streets of gold. He never saw the mansions that he would live in. He never saw any of that. But for 53 years, his life basically was living for the unseen. And people would look at him as they look at us, and they're wondering, why are you so foolish? Why are you putting your investment into that which you can't even see? Well, it's because, like Lot, he lived just for himself. And the person now who's going to live for eternity is going to go west, and they are going to live for that which is not seen. Somebody should have come to Lot and said, Lot, you're making a colossal big mistake by making this decision the wrong way. You shouldn't go east. You need to go west. You don't want to go towards Sodom. You want to go towards Jerusalem. You don't want to live over here just for yourself and just for the temporary things, just for the moment. You want to live over here. You want to live for God. You want to live for that which is not seen. Somebody should have told Lot that. But apparently nobody did. And Lot chose to go in the direction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Let me try to give you a couple illustrations of this. Here's a young couple. They're not married, but they have fallen in love with each other. So now they want to get married. And they're just in their teens. And all they can see is the very moment, the pleasure, the fun, the ease, being married. I'm with him, I'm with her all the time now. Oh, great, wonderful. And they fail to see the future. They don't look at what's going to happen down the road. All they can see is a girl over here who's pretty. All they can see is a guy over here who is handsome. And all they can see is, yes, I want to spend my life with him or her, rather than understanding what is God saying about this whole thing. Does God really want me to marry this guy? Does God really want me to marry this girl? And oftentimes what we do is we make a decision based upon that which we see rather than upon that which we don't see. Here is a man, he works a job, and lo and behold, here comes a big promotion. And oh, it's going to be a fat promotion. It's going to really increase his income. The only problem is he's going to have to make a move. Right now, he is involved with the Lord's work. His children are growing up and becoming good, solid Christians. He and his wife are having a good marriage. Everything is going just fine. But he gets this promotion. And he sees what's over here towards the east. And he sees how that would increase his wallet. It increases his wealth, his portfolio, and all the rest of it. And he's thinking to himself, I need to make this move. And rather than looking at the whole picture, rather than looking through the eyes of the Lord, rather than seeing what God is trying to tell him to do, he just makes a decision based upon what's going to benefit him, and he makes the move, and it probably was the worst move he ever made. Now, I'm not saying every move is bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you're going to make a decision like this, make sure that it is a decision that is not seen necessarily with the temporal eyes, but with the eyes of Jesus. What does Jesus see? What is the unseen here? Here's a young couple that's involved in their church. Oh, things are going well until one day something happens in the church. Honestly, I hate to say it, but Liberty is not a perfect church. There isn't any perfect church. And if there is a perfect church, as they say, please do not join it, because if you join it, it'll become imperfect. We have an imperfect church here, and there are going to be things done, and there are going to be things said. There are things going to happen that you're not going to like. And right away, oh, I'm out of here. I can't put up with this anymore. All right, so you go down the street and you go to another church. Honestly, the people may change, but the problems don't. There is no church out there that is going to be perfect. But let's say there's a couple in the church and they're active, they're involved, and maybe something happens. Somebody says something that shouldn't have been said. And they walk out and they say, well, I'm making a decision. We're going away. We're going to find a different place. Now, sometimes people need to do that. I understand it. But really, if you're going to make a change, if you're going to make a decision like this, if you're going to make a choice like that, make sure it isn't just because of the temporary. Look to the future. Look to see what God is saying. See the whole picture. Because oftentimes we'll make a decision that to us right now, it looks so wonderful, it looks so good, it's the very thing we need to do, and in all reality, it isn't. We make decisions based upon what looks good to us. Man, this feels good. I know this is what I should do. What does God say about it? Oh, I don't know. No, check in with God. Because invariably, a choice that we make, a major choice, is going to affect not only us, it's going to affect our wives, it's going to affect our husbands, it's going to affect our children, it's going to affect our family, it's going to affect people that we love. All because, like Lot, he sees the well-watered plains over here. He sees how that his cattle can get fat and how that they can sell for more money. And he just sees the advantage. But he doesn't see how that going in that direction is going to lead him towards Sodom. And we read it. It is full of wickedness. It is full of sinners. And then he uses the word exceedingly. Exceedingly. Before we make decisions, cover every base. Look at everything. Don't make a decision without checking in with God, because it's going to involve so many people. So here is Lot. He's blinded. And he's blinded because of greed. And he's blinded because of wealth. And he's blinded because of the temptation. And he's blinded because of sin. So he makes this choice. He's going east. And little did he realize the cost. The cost that he would have to pay for making that decision. Now, there are 4 things that I see in this story that Lot did not see, and that's why he made this bad decision. And I want to get to the first one this morning, and then next week we'll go to the second, third, and fourth one. So here's the first one. When Lot made that decision, a bad, costly decision, Lot did not see the shame of losing his testimony. He did not see the shame of losing his testimony. Do you realize that one of the most important and most valuable things that you and I have, that God has given to us now that we're believers, is our testimony? Our testimony. Our testimony is going to determine how much influence we're going to have upon others and how much the Lord is able to use us. If our testimony is gone, if our influence is gone, the way that we're going to affect anybody else for God is also gone. And God, when we lose our testimony, really doesn't have much of a choice but to put us on a shelf and not use us until we get ourselves right with Him. We who are parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, we want to influence our children for God, which only means we better guard our testimony. We who are Christians and are part of this church, we want to influence people who are part of Liberty and other Christians. We want to influence them for God. And if that be our goal, then we better, how we better guard our testimony. And then those of us who are concerned about lost people and we want to draw people into the kingdom of God, honestly, folks, we need to guard our testimony. Don't let anything harm our testimony. And here is Lot. He's going in the direction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And he didn't realize that when he made that choice, that one of the things he was going to lose was his testimony. Now, I want you to follow with me, if you will, in Genesis 19. We were in chapter 13, but if we go to 19, look at verse number 12 and 13. Now, God is going to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. So in verse 12, and the men, now these are the angels that God has sent to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. So when these men, they said unto Lot, hast thou here any besides, son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxen great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. So you can picture how these angels are coming to Lot and saying, look, this city is going to be destroyed. Fire and brimstone's coming from heaven, and everybody in this city, along with everything in it, will be destroyed. Now look at verse 14. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But, remember, he's lost his testimony. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. It's like Lot's children are saying, what's up with our father? What's got into him? All of a sudden, he comes to our doorstep, he knocks on the door, and he rants and he raves and he says, please get out of this city. Get away from Sodom, because God's going to destroy it. And his children thought he was joking, because he made a choice way back there to go over there into the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, it looked so nice, watering, and all of his cattle, everything was going to be hunky-dory, but it led him to a point where he lost his testimony, and he never, ever saw that when he made the decision to go in that direction. He took his influence, and he took his testimony that God himself had given to him, and he threw it away. He just threw it away. And his daughters, his sons, his in-laws, his friends, his family, they just laughed at him. And if you go a step farther, they stayed in the city of Sodom. His children stayed in the city of Sodom, and they all perished in the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, because Lot made the wrong decision and lost his testimony. For all of eternity, can you imagine? They're not with him in heaven, because here is a father who lived out there in the world and lost his testimony, and he had no influence and no effect upon his children. He lost his testimony. I'm telling you that losing your testimony is a huge, it is big. It is a massive, giant deal. One thing we don't want to do as Christians is lose our testimony. Every time we go against God, every time we go against his word, every time we do something that is wrong, sinful, or evil, we just lose a little bit more of our testimony. Every time. We lose a little bit more of our influence. Every time. We lose a little bit more of our effectiveness. Every time. Every time we do that which we know is not right. Lot did not see the shame and the consequence of losing his testimony when he made that choice to go into Sodom and Gomorrah. Has there ever been a time when somebody has come and talked to you about the Lord and their testimony has been shot? Or maybe there's been a day when you've tried to talk to somebody about the Lord and you know that your testimony is not right. The honest truth is, when somebody who isn't with a good testimony for the Lord talks to somebody who needs the Lord, it goes in and out of the ears. It doesn't stay. Why would we want to listen to somebody to tell us to get out of Sodom and Gomorrah when they themselves are loving it there? It goes in one ear and out the other ear. Lot never, ever saw the potential of losing his testimony. He didn't realize that when he made that wrong decision to go towards the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, he did not realize that eventually he would step on the porch of those children of his and beg them to get out of the city. He never realized that those children would laugh at him and they would perish in that city because he lost his testimony by making the wrong decision. Here's what Solomon says in Proverbs 22. The first part of it says, a good name, a good testimony, a good reputation is rather to be chosen than great riches. It would be a whole lot better for us to have hardly anything and have a good testimony than to be wealthy and have all kinds of material stuff and not a testimony. The testimony, the good name, is the best. In fact, in Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 1, Again, Solomon is saying, a good name is better than precious ointment. All Lot could see was the temporary. What's going to satisfy me now. Now. That's what I want. He never thought of the fact that one day his own children would perish because all he could see was what would benefit him. So his kids say to him, Lot, Father, Dad, who do you think you are? Aren't you the same guy that is out there on the streets with all the other wicked men, all the other sinners? Aren't you the same guy who's running around doing the things of Sodom and Gomorrah, which are evil, and now you're coming to us and you're trying to explain to us how important it is that we get out of the city lest we perish? And the same thing can happen to us if we don't make the right decisions. If we choose to make a decision based upon what we see and what we feel is going to benefit us, rather than seeing it as God sees it, rather than seeking His will for our life, doing it our way, it ultimately always ends up in some kind of disaster. Hang on to that testimony. Don't lose your testimony. Here's how you can lose it, by the way. I think one of the major ways is they're the way we talk. I think a lot of Christians just flat need to clean up their language. We just need to start speaking godly things. But we kind of are around the people of the world, and they use all of these filthy, dirty terms and words, and it gets in our head, and before we know it, we're saying some of the same stuff. No, with God's help, we need to clean up our language. Don't ever take the name of the Lord in vain. People say, oh my God. What? No, don't say that. It's taking God's name in vain. Don't take His name. Oh, Lord. No, what that does, it just takes again our testimony downhill. Another thing that I think can really harm our testimony is our temper. Surely nobody here has temper. Some little thing ticks you off. And right away, before you know it, everybody in the room knows that you're hot. You're mad. You're going to throw something. You're going to slug somebody. Wait a minute, you're a Christian. You have a testimony. We have a testimony to maintain, and losing our temper because, oh, we're excused because we have a short fuse. Well, grow your fuse. Do something. Don't lose your testimony and act like a complete idiot. Don't do that. Another way we can lose our testimony so quickly is by just being a little dishonest. Just a little bit shady. Not 100%, maybe 90%, and then the 10%. No. We need to be squeaky clean. When you go down to the store and you buy a hamburger and they give you more change back than what you should gotten back, what do we do? Hey, look at that. I got a free burger. Yeah, that burger's going to give you a bellyache. No, be honest. People see this. When you're at work, be honest. You know, the honest truth is, and this seems like minute stuff, but don't even take a paper clip home that belongs to the company. unless they tell you to. Be honest. We're God's children. And when we're God's children, we got to maintain a testimony for Him. Let me give you one more. Bad habits. I don't know what your habits are, but I think all of us have, as the Bible says, a besetting sin. And we struggle with it. And with God's help, we ought to clean our life up and let God know and let the world know, hey, we're living our life for Jesus. And we're not involved in these habits that destroy our testimony. Whatever it is that's causing us to lose our testimony, is it such that maybe we could get rid of it? And even get rid of it like today? Maybe we could abandon it. Maybe we could go and just without ceasing pray and say, oh God, help me. I don't want to lose my testimony, especially in front of my children. I don't want to lose my testimony, especially in front of other Christians. And I don't want to lose my testimony, especially in front of those people who are lost, especially those people who need to come to Christ. You see, Lot failed, and he failed miserably, because he came to a point in his life where he had to make a decision. Am I going to go to the east, towards Sodom, or am I going to go towards the west, towards Jerusalem, let's say? Over here, oh, man, it's nice. Woo-wee. The well-watered plains, like the Garden of Eden, just lush green grass. Man, it's going to be great for my cattle, for my sheep, for everything I've got. My pocketbook, my bank account, my portfolio is just going to swell. But the Bible says he pitched his tent towards Sodom. Bad, bad, bad decision. Imagine what God could have done with him had he pitched his tent towards Jerusalem. But no, all he could see was the temporary. And he made his decision based upon what he saw, what he thought was the best for him. And it cost him. It cost him his testimony. And we're going to see next Sunday how that it cost him his family. It cost him his wife. It cost him so much. Whatever we do, let's make sure that when we come to that fork in the road and we've got to make a decision for God or for ourselves, always make the decision for God. It may not seem like the best decision. It may not seem like the most profitable decision. It may not seem like this is what's going to benefit us the most. Going over here, now, hey, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to do this and that and so forth. And no, whatever God leads us to do, that's the way to go. Don't ever make a decision without exploring everything, especially through the eyes of spirituality, which would be the eyes of God.